I'm Casey from Flower Duet, and I am this week's LA Made program. I would first like to thank the Los Angeles Public Library and the Library Foundation that supports the library's Exploration and Creativity Department, who manage the funds that originated with a grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. So we're going to learn a little bit about floral design in the next hour or so, and let's get started. Choosing your vase is actually one of the most important decisions to make before you start making a design with your flowers. Watertight and inexpensive, we love, because you don't want something that has a hole in the bottom to drain out, or something that is maybe made of terracotta that has a sweat and leaves a stain on your table. So watertight is really the most important thing. Clear glass is great because it is pretty and will look nice with the stems all cleaned below. So a clear glass vase is something also that you can pretty much get anywhere. The design, this is sometimes up to your own aesthetic, but it's almost better to go with something very simple. And so this is the one that I'm going to use for this design today because it's tall enough to hold my flowers in place. It's not hugely wide-mouthed like this one, which would indicate that I would need a lot more flowers to fill it. The bubble bowl, which is really a sweet container, but a little bit on the challenging side when it comes to making an arrangement. It's a little bit of an awkward shape. Another great winner, if you don't have a whole lot of flowers, is this little guy. And because it's gathered here, it'll hold the flowers together and be pretty organized for you. But sometimes it's a little bit too compact, not giving the freedom for the flowers to flow a little bit. And flow is in the word flower, so we want that to happen. This other little guy I have here, this is a simple bud vase, very small opening, and these are really handy to have around because you might have some flowers that are low on the stem that get taken off because they won't work in the big arrangement, and then you can just pop them into your bud vase. So those are the key elements. So what Kit and I, my sister, the other half of Flower Duet, have often shared is there's really no bad flower arranger, but there are very bad vases that can be very challenging, okay? So pick a good vase that makes you comfortable with what the flowers that you're going to be using. The next thing you need to worry about is how am I going to have my flowers last a really long time? So we got the flowers from your supplier, and I'm going to talk about how to recognize the freshest flowers. But one of the most important things to do is to make sure that they have a good drink of water, very solid drink of water. And so what you're going to use is flower food. And often you will see this flower food packet attached to bundles of flowers at the grocery store. It works well. It was made to really, mimic what they were getting when they were still on the plant. So this really does help you out. And on the back, it says how much water to how much flower food you should use. Follow the instructions. For a vase like this, I think this one's for a pint, so you might need 2 packets for the water. So mix it in your pitcher and then pour in what you need. Okay, so go find your vase and get some flower food if you've got some shoved in that junk drawer, and do a little mixing, and then come on back and we'll talk about how to identify the fresh flowers that you're going to buy at the store. When choosing your flowers, basically it comes down to whatever you like. Color, style, look, all of that is just completely up to you. If you don't know what goes together, then maybe just start with one color, white and green, or white and green and then add pink, or stick with pink but just do all shades of pink or all shades of purple. So just have fun with it. Going back to the basics, white and green are a wonderful fresh look that go with anything, and they're usually appropriate for any occasion, for a gentleman or for a lady. So, but don't limit yourself to just white and green. It's really fun to go a little bit bold. And it's summer, and summertime is when we do see more bold colors in what people wear, in beach umbrellas, and just everywhere. So go bold and have fun with it. I'm going to introduce you to a few of our players today who are going to join us in our arrangement. This is a rose. Roses come in so many different colors and so many different varieties too. There's some garden roses, there's standard roses, which these are. There are spray roses, which I have here as well. When you're buying roses, the most important thing to do is to squeeze the base of the bud right here at the base. It should be firm. If you do that and it's firm, your flowers are fresh. The other thing if it's squishy, it's probably been around a while. So if it just gives in like a marshmallow, then you probably want to pass it up or know that it's not going to last that much longer. And really, you want your flowers to last. Usually roses will last up to a week, if not longer. The other thing you want to do is be able to look inside and see all the layers. Sometimes you might see a rose that is so pointy and looks like a bud and you think this is so fresh, but sometimes when you can't see the layers in there, it never opens, and that's just the variety that it is. Roses have thorns, lots sometimes, and they are sometimes on 3 different places on your stem. They could be on the main part of the stem, which we're very used to seeing here, sneaky ones on the backs of the leaves, and these teeny little ones sometimes up at the neck. So you want to be really careful when handling your roses. We use floral cutters that are just specifically for floral arranging. They are not for cutting out your scissors for cutting in the kitchen, or they're not for trimming your bougainvillea outside. So use them just for flowers. And the best way to clean a rose is simply by standing it on its tippy toe, holding it in a place on the stem that's thorn free, and simply trimming away those leaves all the way to the top, because we're going to add some greenery in there, so it's okay if some of the greenery is not on there. Reason why? Greenery below the water line causes something called ethylene gas, and that will knock out your flowers and you if you're close by, and it will also cause the water to get green and smell kind of stinky, and it also clogs up the stems, so your stems can't drink anymore. So removing this kind of little greenery below the water line is really going to extend the life of your flowers. All right, so I've got a great view of my rose stem here, but what I'm seeing now that I've taken all of the greenery off is I've got tons of thorns. So I am simply just going to clip off the tips of these thorns. So when I handle my stem, they'll be bumpy, but they're not going to hurt. Plus, if you cut the stem, the thorn part off, it's not going to pierce another flower and then cause that flower to send all its energy to fix that. So you want everyone to stay healthy and well, okay? We don't want to skin someone else's knee in there. This is a spray rose, so it's a smaller version head, but very, very similar and very similar color. These actually grow also in an array of colors, so you can always mix and match with a standard rose. Same rules apply. You want to look at it and squeeze a little base of the bud. The fun thing about spray roses is that usually 1 or 2 are opening, and then 2 or 3 are still really tight. So there's a lot of variety going on with just within one little bundle here. Same rules apply. You're going to trim away the greenery, and the reason why we cut it away, two reasons actually. 1, they might have thorns on it, which would hurt, and rose greenery holds onto the stem very, very tightly. So if you start to just rip it off, it's going to rip some of the stem. And again, all the energy is going to go to fix that instead of going to the blooms, okay? So take your time and just trim it away. It's fun. It's very therapeutic. All right, next player is a carnation. These are just beautiful flowers that have been around a very long time, and they come in an array of colors. They smell great, and they actually last up to 3 weeks sometimes. And they will open beautifully. This one is so fresh, and the reason why you can tell is that it's very, very tight still, And what you can do to hurry these along to open is just hold that base of that bud and fluff it open. But this is how you know that they're super fresh, is that they're still really tight. The greenery on a carnation stem is only attached at each of the little, we call them knuckles, and you want to just pinch those off very, very gently, because knuckles and joints in a carnation are about as delicate as they are in people. So you want to just easy pull it away and you're good to go. Greenery is also a very good indicator on the freshness of your flowers. If the greenery is still green and plump and luscious, then that's another sign that your flowers are really fresh. If the greenery has already turned yellow, but the flowers still look okay, the flower is on its way out. And that is especially true with this flower. You might look at this flower and think, that doesn't look like anything. Well, it will open and be beautiful. This is called Alstroemeria, or Peruvian lily, and the flower opens up to look like a little lily. It's so pretty. And these green leaves will turn yellow way before the blooms will finish. So that's, like I said, that's that indicator. These are fun. You can just rip these right off. And the most fun to clean, you hold it right underneath the head gently, and then whoop, just slide right down. So satisfying. It's really fun. And believe me, these are gonna open and be super pretty. So don't pass them by when you see them this closed. This is when you wanna buy them. And these will last easily up to 3 weeks. So we've gotta have an arrangement here. It's gonna last quite a while. All right, our next element here is a mum. These are chrysanthemums. We call them mums here in America. They call them chrysanths in England. They've been around a super long time as well. And again, the greenery, really easy to pull off. And mum greenery gets really shrivelly really fast. So we don't really want any of it on there because, again, the flowers are gonna last probably a couple of weeks. So we wanna take all that off. Oops, and if you have a stem that's that's broken, just trim it and put it aside. We might put that in our bud vase and just trim everything down. And sometimes you want to take a look and you might see there's a few that are really, really low on your stem. And I know that those are probably gonna need to come off just because of the design we're doing, but maybe I'll just take the one off and then we'll see. Okay, I'm gonna leave that one like that. All those little guys off the side of it. Great. All right, those are our mum. Actually, those are called Kermit mums. Can you guess why? Yes, it's easy being green when you're a flower. Our next one is a spray carnation or a mini carnation, and again in the carnation family. And we're just gonna pull away the greeneries just like we did on the other, careful at those joints. And we've got this guy who's really low on the stem, and so he's definitely gonna be in the way once we make our design. We call these hitchhikers. They're along for the ride, but they're not necessarily helpful for your main design. But we're gonna put them in our little bud vase, which I guess we could call that like a sidecar. All right, so got that all cleaned up, and now I have all these cute little blooms at the top. They're so tight still and so fresh, but I know that they're gonna last, so we'll leave them like that. Absolutely darling. Take off those little guys too. Okay? Let's see, our last piece that we're gonna have in this design is called ruscus, and it's a type of greenery. There are two different kinds of ruscus that are out there. This one's Israeli ruscus, but it actually grows down in San Diego area. So it probably can grow in a lot of different zones. It is very hardy. It's a lovely neutral green that doesn't really compete with anything, so it sort of enhances everybody. And it grows all on a line, and we don't always need some of the lower pieces here. So I usually pull those lower ones off and then just leave the tips because they're really pretty and they're finished. All right, so those are all of the elements that we're gonna work into our design today. And so go ahead and clean your flowers and pause the video, and then we'll come back and we're gonna show you what we do next and what the name of our design is. Right on, so we're back and we've got our vase, and I filled it about 2/3 to 3/4 full, and you want to fill it as much as you can without it spilling over because you want to make sure that all your stems are going to get a water source. And most everything is probably going to be about the same length of stem for this design, so it's not really a risk. If you're transporting this somewhere else after you've made it, you may want to not have it so full so it doesn't slosh around. But if you're just going to move it from the kitchen or wherever you're working to your table, then go ahead and just fill it up and then move it very, very carefully. I already had added my flower food, so we're ready to roll. This design is called Gather, Drop, and Fill. And we did not have Phil join us today, but that's just the name of the design. So the whole idea is to gather your flowers together, and then we're going to cut them and drop them in, gather, drop, and let them fall open, and then we're going to fill in with everything else. So it's sort of a shortcut to filling your whole vase without trying to stick stuff in there and wondering if it's going to look good. All right? A few things about your stems. Since you've cleaned everything, you probably have everything just laid out on the table, which is great, and it can manage that. But stems do seal up in about 10 seconds. So we want to be sure we give everything a fresh cut before we pop it back in the vase. Otherwise, it's not going to have a chance to drink. So if you think about when you pick up flowers at the grocery store or the farmer's market, and you grab those flowers, and sometimes it's right when you go into the store and you put it in your cart, and then you tool around and do all your shopping, then you get home and you think, oh my gosh, the flowers have been out of water for maybe an hour. It's fine. Just maybe when you get home, have a bucket ready if you know you're going to pick up flowers, and just put that flower food in there and your water, and then just give them a fresh cut and put them in there. Just cut a little bit off. It just has to break the seal. And that way they can sit tight and relax and acclimate to the surroundings and the temperatures, and put away your groceries. Then you can make your coffee and find the vase that you want to work with and find your cutters and clear off space, giving them a chance to just sort of hang out and relax. And that actually is a very important part of the process. It's called conditioning, where you get your flowers, put it in flower food, let them sit, do your thing. Okay? So I've already done that, and so we're ready to start designing with them. So gather, drop, and fill. It's fun, but very important that you have cleaned all your flowers first. Otherwise, you're going to be cleaning and grabbing, so best just to clean everything. I did bring in another set of Alstroemeria. It's the same flower as this, only different color, and you can see they're actually starting to open a little bit, so you can see that lily look, very, very sweet. So we're going to incorporate those too. Those are the only ones I brought in that I hadn't introduced you to earlier. All right, so gather. We're going to start with some greenery. I'm going to take a few of these in my left hand, and we'll take a couple of carnations. And the idea here is that all the heads are actually pretty level. And then we're going to do that just to start. And it's really just a little bit of everything, maybe a couple Alstroemeria, maybe some that are a little bit more open. That guy. Put in the pink one. And I'm just holding these all in my left hand, and I'm just picking through ones that we have, maybe two of everyone, just to get started. That beautiful spray roses. Turn it around. Let's add a spray rose to the other side. Don't have too many of those. That looks pretty. And then a couple of these mums as well. All right. So, and this guy too. All right. So it actually looks really pretty already. It just looks like a regular old bouquet. And at this point, if you just wanted to pop this into a vase, you'd be good to go, and it would be pretty, because flowers are pretty anyway. But this one is going to just be a little bit more full, and like I said, it's like a shortcut to a bigger arrangement without staring at that empty vase. I kind of think of floral design like writing an essay. You know, that empty paper staring at you. So what this does, it sort of gives you your outline. And just like when you're writing a paper, it's good to have your bullet points and an outline of what you're going to be writing about. Same thing goes with your empty vase. So this is our outline, and I'm going to show you how that becomes an outline in just a moment. So just going to see it, make sure I have a little bit of everybody's represented, maybe one more of these. And again, gathered here, this is our gather step. All the heads are about the same height. Vase is ready with water. I've got my cutters here. Now the question is, I have to cut this. And I don't want to cut it too short that it just gets lost in here. We need to cut it to a point where it's going to be about half the, or twice the height of the vase. All right? So by doing that, I'm actually going to pull this to the edge of the table, and I'm just going to line it up to see when the heads are double the height of the vase, and then I see where my stems are coming off the side, and I'm going to use that as my guide. So take my cutters, and I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to cut everybody the same length here at the same area, and I am going to cut a little bit at an angle, because you don't want your stems to sit flat at the bottom of the vase. It's very hard for the stems to drink. Just like, you know, when you have a straw at the bottom of your cup, it's hard, so you have to sort of put it at an angle. All right, so I know this is my guide, and I'm cutting a little on the long side first and seeing if it's going to be an okay or if I need to cut it again. So I'm going to go for it rather quickly, cutting one at a time, but fast, because they do close in about 10 seconds. So let's go. And I'm just going to let it fall on the floor because I know I can clean it up later. And if you only have a few stems in your hand, then you can get through that rather quickly. All right, so I'm putting it in, and if I let these drop open, I think it's going to be too tall. But the only way to find out is by just doing it. So I'm going to let everybody go. And, not bad. You're thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many holes. What is she thinking that it's not bad? But actually, it's a nice length. And I think we might just have to take off just a little bit more, because the more full you have it and the more laid out they are, giving us our outline, the more flowers you need to actually fill it in. So some of this depends on how many flowers do you actually have, and do you have enough to fill it? So cutting it shorter is actually going to help you know if, or help you fill it in faster, okay? So I'm seeing two ruscas here next to each other, so I'm going to give them a little rearranging. And yes, it's growing on me, but looking at the table, I think we need to take out just a little more. And I think it's important that you see not to be afraid to regather it and give it another quick trim, because you just built this in your hand. You can do it again. So if I pull everybody back up and make sure that all those stems are the same length again, because we know they were a minute ago, and it actually looks pretty nice. So, yep, they're all about the same. That wasn't scary at all. I'm going to give them another inch or so off. Going quickly. Letting stems fly all over the room. It's okay. Maybe your mom didn't let you do that, but go for it. All right, here we go again. We're back in the water. We're holding it, we're hoping, and we're going to let go. Ta-da! Perfect. That is great. And again, this is your outline. This is going to give you your start on that empty vase or that blank page, that creation. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take in all the other flowers and we're going to fill in. So don't worry about anything standing straight up. There's no way they can do that. They don't have the support yet, right? So we're just going to keep building, sort of like a layer cake, right? You can't put the top layer on your cake until you've got the bottom layer already on. So we're going to build this in layers. But everybody go ahead and do this step. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about underwater architecture and how it's going to help you finish this arrangement. All right, we're back. Now, I talked about underwater architecture, and what I mean is, look at your stems. So when we drop them in there and let them fall all to the side, if you look straight in, you'll see that they're all spiraled, and you can actually see it here in your clear vase. And earlier, when we were talking about finding that right vase for your arrangement, I talked about how pretty the stems will actually look, and this is what I mean. And it's funny though, because not everybody likes to see the stems, but if you've cleaned them all and they're doing this beautiful spiral look, then what's not to like? It's very organized and it's very pretty. So taking the time to clean your flowers and not have them full of a bunch of little pieces of greenery really does make it look aesthetically pleasing. And remember, it's also for your arrangement to last longer because you're not having to have as much ethylene gas. Now, your stems are natural, so they are going to start to break down. So it is often recommended to change the water every couple of days and recut your stems too. So another reason why you can start out kind of big and full, and then as the days of the week goes on, if you're going to pull it out and cut it a little shorter, then you might end up transferring this arrangement into a smaller vase as you go shorter and shorter, or to two different smaller vases, or maybe a mug. And maybe you can give a friend a mug, or have it on your desk and have it in two places. Anyway, all right, so let's continue adding to this. So we have our outline, and also what I like to refer to is everyone's just sort of leaning against the side of the pool, we'll say. Their toes are in and they're leaning out, and so we need to keep them where they are and make sure that you're pretty evenly distributed with color all around the side. So if I do a little turn here, you're gonna see I've got two purple carnations right next to each other. So I may want to just reposition this one over here, but still keeping that little spiral going. I'm gonna tuck them under there. And then I'm gonna add another flower right in there and just slide it in. So something I don't have. So maybe maybe another one of those pink roses. They're really, really pretty. Another rule of design is your fuller, more open flowers are really more aesthetically pleasing to be low. So if you think about, again, that cake, you've got a big, large, low layer, and then at the top you have a small layer. So low, large, tall, small is also a pleasing. So I have this really pretty big rose here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and slide that in and break up those purple carnations. Okay. It's also good to turn your arrangement around. If you've got a lazy Susan around the house, I don't mean your aunt, then use that to put your arrangement on, and then just turn it around. It's easier than reaching over and then possibly breaking something on the way. So just keep turning it around and keep filling in. So we've done the gather, we did the drop, we did the gather again, we did the drop, and now we're gonna fill. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to take a look at what's in front of me and decide what's missing in color, and then I'm just going to pop it in there, and then I'm just going to keep turning. So right now I've got those two lovely Kermit mums over here, but not here. So I'm going to take one of my Kermit mums and make sure it doesn't have any of these little greeneries. I didn't quite get that all done earlier. Now the question is, how much do I cut off? It was easy when everybody was all together, but if you're not sure, then just cut some of it off and then put it next to your arrangement. And knowing though, this isn't gonna go straight in, this is still gonna go at an angle. These are still gonna go on the side. So you don't wanna go so short that it gets lost in there, right? So give it a trim and then test it out. So I'm gonna bring it in there and pop it in there. Oh, that looks nice. That worked out. So that's the one I just placed there. Beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna keep moving my way around here. I don't think I have any of these guys in, but they're small. He might be more of a tall, small. So let's add some alstroemeria. And you're gonna start to feel a little bit of a rhythm. And just cut and place. And you don't want to cut a whole bunch and then place a whole bunch, right? Because stems close in, say it for me, 10 seconds. You're right. So just cut, place, and turn. And we just used that guy. So let's do another one of these alströmerias. Cut, place, turn. All right, we're filling. We are filling. Where to buy flowers? Right now, I must say that I have seen so many flowers at every single grocery store that I have been shopping. Everybody's got them. Even CVS had them, and Trader Joe's has got wonderful flowers, and Vaughn's and Ralph's and Vallarta and Whole Foods. It's really endless. So you really have lots of choices of where you're going to buy your flowers. So if you're heading to the grocery store, just look and see. That one's a little long. Look and see what they have by identifying what's fresh. Still a little long. Can't chat and cut at the same time. Yes, I can. Just kidding. All right, I've done one full round because I'm back here with my Kermit mums smiling at me, and that second layer is totally filling in. And my underwater architecture is still so crisscrossy and wonderful. So as we start adding more pieces here, all those stems are going to hold everything in place so that for them, when we do put that very last one in, it is going to stand up nice and tall. That's the plan. So go ahead, continue on your fill layer, your second layer, and when we come back, we're going to finish it off and top it, and then we're going to talk about a few more things. All right, we're ready to add our top layer, and we also have to do the real step back eyeball test. And this is very important when you're doing design. So often when you're working, you're right on top of it, and it looks pretty, and you're fussing. But one of the most important things to do is actually step completely away from the design. And sometimes it's even better to put it where it's going to go. Like take it away from your workstation, away from all the clutter, and put it where it's actually going to be sitting, and then walk back into the room and see. And sometimes you're like, it's perfect, or oh my gosh, I have a huge hole, or how did those flowers get next to each other? Who said they could sit together? And then sometimes you're like, oh, it's completely off balance, or not. Sometimes it's, like I said, it's perfect. And then you're like, okay, I have extras, what can I do with them? So take your time, right? Everything is fine sitting out of water, remember? Because you're going to give it a fresh cut before it goes in. So take your time, enjoy this. So that's where we are now, our top layer. And then I'm going to do the step back and see what's going on. And you guys are looking at it thinking, she needs something over there. So, I'll see if I can do that. I'm listening to you. All right, so here we go. I am missing right here a little bit of hot pink, so I'm going to add this last pink spray rose because I know I have some here and here, so balancing it out over here and making sure it's long enough because it's getting taller, so we don't want it to disappear too much, so that's a nice balance right there. And then here, we're going to maybe use the other rose. This one isn't quite as open as the other one, so it's a little bit on the smaller side. So we're going to put that in there, pretty, and then turn. I think we can go with another purple carnation. And I'm going to go with a little bit long, give it a little fluff. My sister, who's my business partner, she loves to fluff open the carnations, and we teach a lot of kids programs, a lot of children, and we would say just pet it like a kitten, and you can be very delicate with it and fluff it open a little bit. It won't hurt it, and it will continue to open even further. All right, I think I need a Kermit mum there, and I've got a lot of little hitchhikers on this one. That the lower ones are definitely going to get a little bit lost, so I'm going to trim away 2 of the lower hitchhikers, and again, pulling away some of those little nitty-gritty greeneries and give that a fresh cut. And I'm almost to the point where They're going to be that last one in the middle is going to hold straight up because of all the stems now. Let's see. Another alstroemeria. Back to Kit again. She couldn't remember the name of alstroemeria, and her then fiance had just proposed, and so we were looking actually for flowers for her wedding. She said, "What are these called?" And I said, "Well, what happened when your fiance proposed?" He asked you to marry ya. So that's how we always remember alstroemeria, ascurtomeria, but also called Peruvian lily. That was a little long, so pull that back out, try again. And getting crowded in there. So you know what you have to do when you start getting crowded in there? You have to sort of give it a twist to get that stem in there. So you want to break it, so you have to sort of twist it to get it in a little bit. So that guy's sticking up a little bit, but I like it. And now we've got just a few more to go. I'm going to add some more alstroemeria, ascurtomeria. There. Nice. And I think we can go for another Kermit mum over here. We're on that carnation I just put in. No hitchhikers on that guy. Oh, that's perfect. Yay! And we haven't used very many of these little spray carnations, so let's do a couple of those. Let's put those together. Let's put those maybe right in there. And these are actually starting to open. The ones that we were looking at earlier were still really, really closed. So I'm going to put that in there. And they're delicate too. Oh, now that looks funny. It's a little tall. That one's okay, but this one's a little tall. So I'm going to pull that back out. Give it a fresh cut and go back in. Give it a little twist. Oh, that's cute. Still a little tall, but actually I think it works out. Oh, he's leaning, that's why. Awesome. All right, I think we do have room for one more. Let's put, or maybe two. Let's just get as many as we can in there. Let's do another alstroemeria here. And then we're going to add one more of those purple carnations and tie that color right in. Oh yeah, this is great. Then we're going to do that eyeball check. So let's go here. So here's the test. Will it stand up straight? Will it be tall enough? Yay! There you go. Right smack in the middle. There is our top layer. So right now we've got this lovely arrangement, pretty well balanced, lots of color, a little bit of texture. And the really fun thing about this arrangement is that it is going to continue to open. So here's where we have to do the eyeball test. First thing is clear out your area. Again, just throw them on the floor. One way you want to do it is by just simply lifting it up. Lifting it up and turning it all the way around. And you might say, wow, it's pretty stemmy in there. So I might actually want to add things a little bit low. Is just stepping away from it completely. I know I'm going to leave my other stems there, but just step out and just take a look from this angle as well. There, might want to split them up or add something else in there to break them up. Pretty. I think it's in pretty great shape. But let me add just a few more things. I still have some stems on the table that will go in here nicely. I know that the alstroemeria is going to open, and we're going to, that's cute. Oh, I didn't really use that many, and so I'm seeing that I can break up a little bit here and there on the pinkies, putting a little bit of purple in there. All right, so just keep turning it around, and then like I said, put it away from where you've been working. Go ahead and do all that. Then when we come back, we're going to talk about what do you do with the flowers that don't fit into your main design. Or it's just to have is just a few bud vases around the house. Stems, put them in a little shot glass, or it could be this little apothecary looking bud vases as well. There is a very, very small opening, and you use these for a restaurant. I would do because it was interesting to see what lasted the longest and what people liked and what people didn't like, and so it's a very small opening and there's more room in there. So I might take that back out and add a few more pieces. And I'm going to make the carnation a little bit lower because it's really a large flower. So I'm going to cut it a little lower. And then I'm going to add some alstroemeria. And it's too tall. And bring that down a little bit low there too. And then maybe some greenery. My greenery is kind of tall and small, so I'm going to leave that as it is, because what did we talk about, the vase? Your arrangement couldn't be twice the height of the vase. It actually can be 3 times the height of the vase, as long as that highest bit is small and tall. So I'm going to take a little bit off of that. So now we have 3 stems in that little vase, and it's looking cute, but the alstroemeria is not very much open. So hitchhikers off, and I think I'll just put this one in. I'm going to cut it a little bit low, put that in there. Ooh, now it's getting crowded. Cute. Cute little colors. I think maybe that Kermit Mum's a little bit too bulky, so I'm going to pull him back out. He's going to go somewhere else. Let's add that other alstroemeria, the pink one. See how complicated a bud vase can be? Oh, that's better. That's got some fullness to it. And last but not least, let's add in that little spray carnation, the one that didn't make it in the large arrangement. And it's tall and small. So let's go ahead and put that in here too. And let's see if that's completely full now. I think it is. So it looked great with just the one carnation in there, but now it's got a lot more interest going on, and it has almost all the elements as your large arrangement. So if you're hosting a party and you've got this beautiful centerpiece on your table, and then your guests are able to wander around the house, they might find a little matching bud vase in the bathroom, or maybe on a side table in the living room, or where you're having cocktails and all your cocktail tables match. And you know, they're just going to think that you've really got it all together, which you do, because you're watching this and you want to learn something new. So stay tuned. We've got a little bit more information about Flower Duet and the services that we provide. And so go ahead and grab that bud vase out of the kitchen and add some water and some flower food if you still have some from your pitcher. And go ahead and play with your leftovers. These are the leftovers that are fun to play with. And we'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining Flower Duet today. And beyond just what you learned today, we have also provided florals for events and weddings for over 20 years. And we've always taught flower arranging to anybody who wanted to learn. We've taught here at our studio in Los Angeles, but we also teach at the Huntington Botanic Garden. And we've taught kids as young as 6 to adults as old as 90. And it's never too late to learn something new and find out that it might be something that you love to do. So we have a vast menu of floral classes on our website, flowerduet.com, and you can actually get a subscription and learn something new every week, every Friday. And if you subscribe, you actually get a ton of videos that we've actually already done, very similarly laid out like you just went through today. We also have launched this summer our Living Art Summer Camp, and we had it in the studio last year with kids, and it was just phenomenal because it's not just floral design, it's everything. And we incorporate STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, and math in every lesson. So just an example of a couple things that we're doing. This is for American Grown Flower Week. It says next week's box going out. And did you know that California actually grows 80% of the flowers that are grown in the United States? And there are flower farmers, though, all over the country. So we're sending boxes out to kids all across the nation who then are going to purchase flowers from their local flower farmers or their grocery store. So check out slowflowers.com and find out where the local flower farmers are to you. A couple of the other things that we're making as well is we're incorporating sunflowers, which are actually native to the United States. And we're giving them some personality, or at least the kids are. We're taking some of those leftovers we just talked about and making art, botanic art with them. We are doing sun prints, so using the power of the sun and some of our other leftovers that didn't make the arrangement, making art out of them. And then how do you grow your own flowers? We talk about how to plant and start a little business on the side for your neighbors. So hope you enjoyed Flower Duet today, and go out, buy some flowers, make some arrangements, and know that your next LA Made program is next Thursday at 4 o'clock on July 2nd. Enjoy. Thank you.